senators, and representatives, I have the distinguished honor of presenting.
Welcome back to Mr. Hutchings History, where we explore history with depth, curiosity, and a touch of controversy. Today's episode is a special one in honor of President's Day, as we dive into a fascinating debate. Who do Americans venerate more, Abraham Lincoln or George Washington? That's right, we're going head-to-head with two of the most legendary figures in U.S. history. Throughout this episode, we'll explore their leadership, challenges, and how history has shaped their reputations over time. We'll examine personal narratives, such as Washington's legendary farewell to his troops and Lincoln's poignant letters on slavery, and how their leadership still resonates today. Plus, we'll dive into expert historian perspectives, intriguing hypothetical scenarios, and pop culture depictions of these two giants. And we want you to weigh in.
Let me know what you think in the comments.
For our international listeners, this comparison may seem unusual. After all, both men are considered titans of American history, but their legacies are complex and at times controversial. What if Washington had accepted the title of king? What if Lincoln had survived the assassination attempt? These discussions will help us uncover why these two figures remain central to America's identity. To make this episode even more engaging, we'll also introduce a listener poll to hear your thoughts on the debate. So let's get started. We're going to begin with the founding father himself, General George Washington. Washington's legacy is deeply tied to the foundation of the United States. As the victorious general in the American Revolution, President of the Constitutional Convention, and the nation's first president, Washington played a crucial role in shaping American governance. While the U.S. Constitution provides broad principles, Washington was instrumental in defining many unwritten traditions that continue to influence American political roles today. Historians such as Joseph J. Ellis writes in His Excellency George Washington an argument that Washington's reluctance to seize absolute power as king stemmed from Washington's awareness of the dangers of unchecked authority. Washington was shaped by his military experience and shaped by his admiration for classical Republican ideals. Gordon S. Wood, another historian, writes in Empire of Liberty that Washington's decision to step down after 2 terms as president was a vital precedent, reinforcing the nation's commitment to democracy over monarchy. Washington's leadership also included establishing the executive cabinet, an institution not explicitly outlined in the Constitution, and this demonstrated Washington's pragmatic approach to governance. One of Washington's most defining moments was his rejection of the title of monarch. In 1782, Colonel Louis Nicola proposed that Washington take on the role of monarch, to be king of this new young nation, to which Washington firmly replied that the idea of him becoming king or the idea of America having a monarchy was painful and displeasing. This decision from Washington was rooted in his commitment to Republican ideals. Washington was influenced by Enlightenment thinkers such as John Locke, who emphasized governance by consent, and Montesquieu, who advocated for separation of powers. Washington's admiration of Roman figures such as Lucius Quinctius Cincinnatus, more commonly known as Cincinnatus, and if for those of you who don't know, Cincinnatus was born around 520 BC. He was born during the late Roman kingdom. Cincinnatus was a model of Roman virtue, particularly civic virtue, by the time of the late Republic. Cincinnatus was a Roman statesman and a farmer who was twice appointed dictator during times of crisis, and after swiftly securing victory, Cincinnatus relinquished the power voluntarily rather than seizing control. This demonstrated from Cincinnatus an unwavering commitment to the Republic and civic duty. The story of Cincinnatus became a model of selfless leadership, and this very story influenced Washington's decision to step away from power after 2 terms of president. The principle continues to be honored by organizations such as the Modern Society of the Cincinnati, founded in 1783 by officers of the Continental Army. This society, named after the Roman statesman Cincinnatus, promotes the ideals of civic virtue, leadership, and national service, values closely associated with Washington. Membership in the society is hereditary, tracing lineage to officers who served in the American Revolution, reinforcing its commitment to preserving the memory of those who fought for the Republic. Washington himself was the society's first president, further linking his legacy to the objectives of fostering patriotism and public service. Despite the deep commitment to democratic ideals, Washington was also tied to the upper-class aristocratic virtues of his time. As a wealthy Virginia plantation owner, Washington upheld a hierarchical approach to leadership, emphasizing dignity, restraint, and order, traits associated with the landed gentry that he was familiar with in Britain. The historian Wood writes in his book, The Radicalism of the American Revolution, Wood suggests that Washington understood the fragility of the new republic and prioritized stability over personal ambition. Though Washington remained a figure of elite governance, his aristocratic bearing, attention to public image, and belief in strong executive authority continued to shape Washington's reputation today. Washington is largely remembered as a unifying figure rather than a populist leader, reflecting Washington's carefully cultivated image as a statesman above partisan politics. However, Washington's legacy is not without further controversy. He was a significant slave owner, with over 300 enslaved individuals at Mount Vernon by the time of his death, a number comparable to other large Virginia plantation owners of this era. Unlike some contemporaries, he permitted enslaved individuals to cultivate their own food and occasionally earn money, but still maintained strict control over their lives. Historians such as Henry Winnick, writing in An Imperfect God, George Washington, His Slaves, and the Creation of America, noted that Washington's views on slavery evolved over time. In his later years, Washington privately expressed a desire for abolition, ultimately freeing his enslaved workers in his will, the only founding father to do so. However, during his presidency, he never took definitive political action to end slavery, prioritizing national unity over moral concerns. This complexity complicates his place in history, particularly in modern discussions on race and equality. You can still visit Mount Vernon. One of the most significant sites at Mount Vernon is the tomb of George Washington, located on the estate grounds. The tomb is the final resting place of Washington and his wife Martha. The current tomb was constructed in the 1830s, replacing an earlier burial vault that had deteriorated over time. Visitors can pay their respects at the tomb, which remains a powerful symbol of Washington's enduring legacy. A solemn setting, the site is often visited by dignitaries, historians, and the general public, reflecting on the deep reverence Americans hold for their first president. For those interested in exploring Washington's legacy firsthand, Mount Vernon, his historic plantation in Virginia, is open to the public. Located on the banks of the Potomac River, about 15 miles south of Washington, D.C. Mount Vernon is operated by the Mount Vernon Ladies Association, a private, non-profit organization that has maintained the estate since 1858. Visitors can tour Washington's mansion, which has been carefully preserved and restored to reflect its 18th century appearance, and explore the extensive grounds, including the gardens, farm, and reconstructed slave quarters. The site features immense historical experiences, including reenactors portraying Washington, his family, and other individuals who lived and worked on the plantation. These interpreters often give insight into daily life at Mount Vernon, from Washington's leadership and private life to the experience of enslaved workers on the estate. The Museum and Education Center provide further context on Washington's military and political career, featuring exhibits, interactive displays, and personal artifacts. Seasonal events such as Revolutionary War reenactments and colonial-era demonstrations allow visitors to engage with history in an interactive way. Mount Vernon remains a key destination for understanding Washington's life, leadership, and the complexities of his legacy. So far, this has been a lot of talking on my end, and you've been doing plenty of listening. Are you thirsty yet? How about a Coca-Cola ad from 1960, followed by a shameless plug from me, Mr. Hutchings? We'll be right back.
When things have gotten very dull and slow,
here's a darn good way to make 'em go. Only Coca-Cola gives you that refreshing new feeling, that feeling, refreshing new feeling. Only Coca-Cola gives you that refreshing new feeling. Get that feeling with the Coke, you get zing.
Yes, Coca-Cola refreshes you best. With ice-cold Coke, you get the lively lift that puts a lot more zing in living.
Only Coca-Cola gives you that refreshing new feeling, that feeling, refreshing new feeling. Only Coca-Cola gives you that refreshing new feeling. Get that feeling with the Coke, Coca-Cola.
And now, the Coca-Cola Company invites you to enjoy...
This episode of Mr. Hutchings History is now streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and all your favorite platforms like CastBox, Podcast Addict, and Amazon Music. Tune in now.
Hey, welcome back, and on with the show. So we're going to move to our next president, the great emancipator, Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln faced the monumental challenge of preserving the Union during the Civil War, a necessity driven by political, social, and economic conditions. Politically, the Constitution did not provide a clear pathway for states to secede from the Union, and Lincoln viewed maintaining the Union as essential to the survival of representative democracy. Socially, the divide between abolitionist and pro-slavery factions had reached a boiling point, and many feared that a fracturing nation could result in further regional conflicts. Economically, the Southern states' reliance on slavery-based agriculture made the Southern states resistant to federal control, while the industrial North needed a unified economy for trade and growth. Initially, Lincoln's primary focus was national unity rather than immediate abolition. However, as the Civil War progressed, Lincoln's views evolved. The Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 transformed the war from a battle to save the Union into a moral crusade against slavery, aligning the Civil War effort with the principles of justice and human rights. Lincoln's leadership was marked by an ability to balance legal justification with moral conviction. Lincoln's arguments against states seceding were rooted in the Constitution itself, but his later push for the 13th Amendment demonstrated a growing commitment to human rights. Historiographically, Lincoln's changing views on slavery has been interpreted through multiple lenses. The progressive school, represented by historians like Charles A. Beard, sees Lincoln's transformation as driven by economic and political necessity rather than moral conviction. The revisionist school, championed by historians like Richard Hofstadter, critiques Lincoln for his pragmatic rather than immediate stance on abolition. However, modern historians such as Eric Foner, in his book The Fiery Trial, Abraham Lincoln and American Slavery, Foner argues that Lincoln's evolving position on slavery was shaped by the abolitionist movement and the wartime necessity of undermining the Confederacy's labor system. The Black Reconstructionist perspective, as developed by W.E.B. Du Bois, further emphasizes that Lincoln's policies were influenced by the growing agency of African Americans in shaping their own freedom. Domestically, Lincoln used executive power to suspend habeas corpus, allowing for the arrest of Confederate sympathizers, a controversial move that helped him maintain control during wartime, but raised serious constitutional concerns. Lincoln's issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation not only weakened the Confederacy internally, but also strengthened Lincoln's moral standing, reinforcing the broader fight for justice and freedom. Ultimately, his leadership navigated the legal, military, and ethical complexities of the Civil War, securing Lincoln's place in history as both a unifier and as an emancipator. This has been a good time for people to take an intermission. So if you want to take a drink or get a cup of coffee, now's that time. I'm going to do the same, and I'll be right back after you enjoy this old-fashioned drive-in intermission.
It's refreshment time, and our refreshment stand is loaded with good things to eat. There's crispy, crunchy popcorn, and hot, delicious buttered popcorn, lots of candy, and frosty, refreshing cold drinks. Why not treat yourself at the refreshment center now? As you leave the theater, folks, please be careful. Don't let this happen to your car. Be sure to remove the speaker before you leave. If you should accidentally pull a speaker loose, please turn it in at our snack bar or box office. Thank you.
Hurry, hurry, step right this way, folks, for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, taste-tempting candies of finest quality. Enjoy popcorn, exploded into tender, delicious, crispy bites of crunchy goodness. Enjoy the tops in cool, refreshing soft drinks. If you want to enjoy some refreshments, this is your opportunity. There will now be a short intermission.
10, 9, 8, 7 minutes to go. Hey, Mom. Yes, you. Why fuss and fret about dinner? Why not have it right here? Yes, this drive-in offers everyone in the family a real picnic treat for dinner. We've got delicious sandwiches with all the trimmings and your other dinner favorites, plus whatever you want to drink, hot or cold. Come early before the show starts, or eat while you're being entertained, or at intermission time. So why fuss? Give your family a tasty dinner at this drive-in.
What is it? Hey, why, it's Buttercup. Popcorn, add some butter to hot popcorn. Mix it up, wrap it up, Buttercup is born.
It's delicious.
So nutritious.
It's a taste delight.
It's so munchy. Crisp and crunchy.
You'll enjoy each bite.
Eat butter-drenched Buttercup. Popcorn at its best.
Served in a king-size cup.
It beats all the rest.
Show starts in 6 minutes.
Time for refreshment. Refreshment.
For your enjoyment, there's hot, fresh popcorn, tempting, delicious hot dogs, and so many kinds of ice cream. And, of course, sparkling, delicious, ice-cold Coca-Cola for everybody at the refreshment counter now. Remember, your favorite snack will taste especially good with world-famous ice-cold Coca-Cola.
Show starts in 5 minutes.
You hungry? Looking for a tempting treat? Hold on till I absorb some heat. Some added tang might please you, too. I'll slide into an oven-fresh bun, and I'm ready for your eating fun.
Why don't you try a juicy good hot dog? Mmm, delicious.
Show starts in 4 minutes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The management of this drive-in theater is happy to announce you can enjoy your favorite form of movie entertainment regardless of rain. No longer will it be necessary to let rain spoil your fun. Now you can keep your windshield clear and dry with a drizzle guard. Simply attach it to your windshield, and in a jiffy, you're enjoying the movie without constantly running your windshield wipers. A drizzle guard will save you gasoline and wear and tear on your battery. After the show is over, all you do is take off your drizzle guard, roll it up, and it's ready to be used again, just like an umbrella. So next time it rains, don't sizzle in a drizzle. Get yourself a drizzle guard and enjoy the show. Drizzle guards are on sale now at the concession center.
And now meet the star of our show. Symbol of a treat that quality made famous. America's most famous ice cream treat. Eskimo pie. Creamy, delicious ice cream made even more exciting with smooth, rich chocolate coating. And wearing the label of quality, known the world over. Eskimo pie, the treat you know is tops because it carries its pledge of quality right on the back of the bag. Be sure you save the bags for valuable premiums. Get famous Eskimo pie at our refreshment stand now. It's America's anytime taste treat. Finest ice cream, finest chocolate. It's delicious.
Show starts in 2 minutes. show starts in 1 minute.
Monsters do have their place. In the zoo, in your nightmares, in the deep, in your favorite horror movies. But not in your living room, on your TV. Don't let pay TV be the monster in your living room. Pay TV and cable TV companies are seeking the right to charge you for the very programs you now get free. If you want to stop pay TV and save free television, sign the petition in the lobby of this theater. Let your lawmakers know how you feel in the fight against pay TV and cable TV.
Jim Rex? What's Jim Rex? Would you believe a movie audience guide presented as a public service by this theater's management to help you select your motion picture entertainment? Well, that's what it is. And we urge you to learn these rating symbols and use them as a guide for you and your family. G means suggested for general audiences, all ages. M, suggested for mature audiences, parental discretion advised. R, restricted, persons under 16 not admitted unless accompanied by parent or adult guardian. X, persons under 18 will not be admitted. This seal in advertising indicates that the film was approved under the Motion Picture Code of Self-Regulation.
And now, on with the show.
Hey, I hope that was fun for everybody. So now that we return, remember that Abraham Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War was shaped by the need to preserve the Union, manage deep social divisions, and address economic conflicts between North and South. Though initially focused on national unity, Lincoln's views evolved, and the Emancipation Proclamation transformed the war into a fight against slavery. Historians debate his motivations, but Lincoln's push for the 13th Amendment solidified his legacy as a leader who balanced legal authority and moral conviction. Okay, now on with the program. Internationally, Lincoln's diplomatic strategy prevented European nations, particularly Britain and France, from recognizing the Confederacy, largely due to Lincoln's framing of the war as a moral struggle against slavery. Historians such as James M. McPherson of Battle Cry of Freedom argues that Lincoln's careful navigation of wartime politics enabled him to keep the Union intact despite severe political divisions inside the Union. Lincoln's assassination in 1865 elevated him to near mythical status, making Lincoln a lasting symbol of perseverance, justice, and national unity. However, perspectives on Lincoln vary across the U.S. In the North, Lincoln is venerated as the savior of the Union and the great emancipator. By contrast, the Southern states still view Lincoln's legacy more critically, particularly in regard to his destruction of the Confederate economy, military occupation of the South during Reconstruction, and Lincoln's policies that led to regional resentment. The Southern lost cause narratives often depict Lincoln as a tyrant who overstepped constitutional bounds. In the Midwest, particularly in Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri, Lincoln is widely celebrated due to his strong personal ties to the region. Illinois, known as Land of Lincoln, hosts numerous monuments, and the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum in Springfield. Indiana and Missouri emphasize his frontier roots, reinforcing Lincoln's image as a self-made man who embodied the Midwestern ideals of self-reliance, hard work, and perseverance. The Midwest's deep agricultural traditions and communal cooperation resonate with Lincoln's early life as a farm laborer and local lawyer, further cementing his revered status in the region. Meanwhile, in the western states and territories, Lincoln's legacy is more distant, While his presidency played a role in territorial expansion, Lincoln's direct impact on these regions was limited. Western settlers were primarily concerned with indigenous conflicts and expansion rather than the Civil War itself. Lincoln's policies toward Native Americans, including Lincoln's approval of the largest mass execution in U.S. history, with the hanging of 38 Dakota men, highlight the competing priorities Lincoln faced. While some Westerners saw him as a stabilizing figure who facilitated migration, Lincoln's focus on national unity overshadowed the immediate concerns of those settling the frontier. So how is Lincoln viewed in the United States? Well, it depends where you're from. If you're from the North and former Union states, Lincoln is a victor who held the Union together and the great Emancipator. If you're from the Midwest, such as like Iowa, Indiana, Missouri, Lincoln does represent lots of Midwestern values. If you're from the South, the former Confederate states, it's more complicated. And if you're from the Western states, such as Colorado, California, Nevada, Montana, Lincoln's role as a president doesn't play much in that history. So while maybe a national hero, he has very little regional importance in the West, who simply had other issues and, by a large part, were not involved in the Civil War. But let's hear from our audience.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
How is Lincoln viewed in your region, your state, your country, or just how do you view Lincoln? Visit Lincoln's historic sites and learn more about this man. For those interested in exploring Lincoln's life further, several historical sites in Illinois offer immersive experiences. There's Lincoln's New Salem State Historic Site, located near Petersburg, Illinois, and operated by the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. This reconstructed 1830s village offers a glimpse into Lincoln's early adulthood. Visitors can explore log cabins, a general store, and workshops where costumed interpreters bring the village to life. Best times to visit are in the spring and fall, when seasonal events and reenactments provide deeper historical context. There is the Lincoln Log Cabin Site, situated south of Charleston, Illinois, near the town of Lerna. This site preserves the 1840s home of Thomas and Sarah Bush Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's father and stepmother. Operated by the Illinois Historic Preservation Division, this site features a working historical farm with livestock and period farming demonstrations, offering insight into Lincoln's family life and agrarian roots. There is, lastly, the Lincoln's Living Historical Farm, part of the Lincoln Log Cabin State Historic Site. This farm provides an interactive experience where visitors can engage with costume interpreters who demonstrate 19th century farming techniques, including plowing, animal husbandry, and cooking over an open hearth. This site is ideal for families and history enthusiasts looking to experience rural life as Lincoln knew it. Ultimately, Lincoln's legacy remains complex and regionally distinct. In the North, he's a hero. In the South, he is viewed with ambivalence or hostility. In the Midwest, he is a symbol of perseverance and self-made success, while in the West, his legacy is acknowledged, but not as deeply ingrained. There have been changing views over time. On President's Day, the way Americans perceive Washington and Lincoln has evolved significantly over time. In the early 20th century, Washington was almost universally regarded as the greatest American figure, a status reinforced by the federal establishment of Washington's birthday as a national holiday in 1885. However, Lincoln's reputation gained prominence during the Civil Rights Movement, as his efforts against slavery took on renewed significance. The adoption of Lincoln's birthday as a state holiday in various regions reflected Lincoln's growing stature, culminating in the 1971 Uniform Monday Holiday Act, which combined both celebrations of Washington and Lincoln's birthdays into President's Day, further cementing the mythic status of both Washington and Lincoln into American memory. Historiographical interpretations of Washington and Lincoln have shifted based on dominant schools of thought. The progressive school, led by figures such as Charles A. Beard, viewed Washington as a representative of elite control and Lincoln as a pragmatic leader shaped by economic necessity. The consensus school of the mid-20th century, exemplified by Richard Hofstetler, emphasized both Washington's and Lincoln's democratic ideals and nation-building roles. More recent perspectives from the New Left and postmodern scholars have examined their flaws, particularly in the context of race, class, and social justice. Today, both men remain widely respected though debates persist regarding their complexities and shortcomings. Washington's legacy has been scrutinized due to his status as a slaveholder and his role in westward expansion, which displaced indigenous peoples, raising questions about his place in modern discussions on racial and social justice. Similarly, Lincoln's reputation has been critiqued for his suspension of habeas corpus, his policies towards Native Americans, and the devastation of the South during and after the Civil War. Beyond these individual critiques, there are broader concerns about the establishment of a holiday honoring American presidents. Some historians, such as Howard Zinn in A People's History of the United States, argue that national holidays reinforce dominant narratives and overlook the darker aspects of history, making figures like Washington and Lincoln appear as uncritical symbols of American exceptionalism. Additionally, some critics contend that President's Day, by celebrating all presidents rather than individual figures, dilutes historical scrutiny and elevates less remarkable or even controversial leaders. Nonetheless, President's Day remains a focal point for discussions on American leadership, patriotism, and the evolving understanding of our nation's past, providing an opportunity to reflect on both achievements and challenges associated with the country's most influential presidents. But is President's Day just a long weekend now? Let's take a 2-minute break and watch a commercial from 1955.
Say, maybe your little Davy Crockett didn't kill him a bar when he was only 3, but you just watch him. Wow. Watch him track down Swanson, quick frozen chicken parts in the freezing compartment of your refrigerator. There he goes. And success. Swanson quick frozen drumsticks. And now his politicking starts. He wants those Swanson quick frozen drumsticks for his very next meal. Crisp and goldy and tender. Like you always fry 'em, Mom. Okay, son. Swanson quick frozen drumsticks coming up. Oh, and you better watch out, Mom, because your young Davy Crockett is liable to grab one of those before he's even been served. And you can't blame him, can you? Because Swanson chickens are specially bred for more meat and smaller bones, and specially fed to grow fine and plump while they're still young and still tender. Then Swanson chickens are prepared and they are packaged fast. Fast to save that fresh flavor. Frozen at 45 degrees below zero in Swanson's moving cold. And your family expects the goodness, yes, the goodness of Swanson quick frozen chicken parts. And giving them less wouldn't be cricket. Wouldn't be Crockett. So get Swanson quick frozen chicken parts from your grocer's freezer, or get our drumsticks, or our thighs, or chicken breasts. Swanson quick frozen chicken parts. Finest chicken in the land. Right, son? Mm-hmm. Say, Jack.
Sounds delicious, right? Have to love that frozen chicken. Okay, so let's start wrapping up with the history of President's Day. Originally, the U.S. celebrated Washington's birthday on February 22nd. However, due to the transition from the Julian to the Gregorian calendar in 1752, as mandated by the British Calendar New Style Act of 1750, which aligned the American colonies with the British Empire's transition to the Gregorian calendar, Washington's actual birth date, February 11th, 1731, on the Julian calendar, was adjusted to February 26th, 1732, in the Gregorian calendar. Confusing? It was for a lot of people at that time. Meanwhile, Lincoln's birthday, February 12th, was observed as a state holiday in many places. Following George Washington's death in 1799, Washington's birthday became a national day of remembrance. By the early 19th century, it was widely celebrated with speeches, public events, and festivities. In 1880, Congress made Washington's birthday an official federal holiday, marking the first time the U.S. established a holiday to honor an individual's birth date. Over time, Lincoln's birthday was also celebrated in various states, though it never became a federal holiday. In 1968, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, Public Law 9363, which was signed into law by President Richard Nixon in 1971. This legislation moved Washington's birthday to the third Monday in February to create more three-day weekends, primarily benefiting business leaders and labor unions by boosting economic activity. The act did not officially merge Washington's and Lincoln's birthdays, nor did it rename the holiday to President's Day. But over time, the public and businesses began to refer to the day as President's Day, broadening the recognition to honor all U.S. presidents. Despite its informal expansion, the federal government still officially recognizes the holiday as Washington's birthday. However, its observance varies by state, with some states maintaining the original designation while others embrace the broader President's Day title. This variability has resulted in at least 14 different names for the holiday across the United States. Additionally, President's Day remains one of the least observed federal holidays by businesses, second only to Columbus Day. While meant to honor all presidents, Washington and Lincoln remain the most recognized figures of the day. However, regional observances exist for other presidents, such as Thomas Jefferson's birthday in Virginia and Franklin D. Roosevelt's Day in parts of New York. Certain figures like James K. Polk and John Adams have been largely forgotten despite their significant contributions, while some historians argue that they deserve greater recognition. Polk, for example, oversaw a territorial expansion that shaped modern America, while Adams played a crucial role in defining early constitutional governance. President's Day also never coincides with the actual birthday of any president. Though 4 presidents, Washington, Lincoln, William Henry Harrison, and Ronald Reagan, were born in February, their birthdays either fall too early or too late to align with the holiday. Furthermore, commercial influence has shaped the modern perception of the holiday, with retailers heavily promoting sales events, particularly for furniture, mattresses, and appliances. As a result, President's Day has become less about historical reflection and more about retail promotion and a long weekend. However, discussions about presidential legacies and the broader question of which presidents warrant remembrance still arise every February, ensuring that their contributions as presidents remain central to American historical consciousness. So, final thoughts. Who do you think Americans venerate more, Washington or Lincoln? The answer depends on who you ask. Washington represents the birth of the nation and the establishment of its democratic ideals, while Lincoln embodies its moral struggle and triumph over division. What do you think? If you were to choose, which leader's legacy resonates more with you? Let us know in the comments or on your social media. That's all for today on Mr. Hutchings History. Don't forget to subscribe and tune in next time for more deep dives into history's biggest moments. Thanks for listening.
Whoa.
Subscribe for more content.
This has been the late edition of News 4. Be sure to get all the latest news with News 4's Live at 5 and News 4 at 11.
Good TV is everyone's business. Channel 4, a subscriber to the TV code of the National Association of Broadcasters, welcomes your comments and criticisms. Watch Channel 4, your television code station. KXLY-TV now concludes another day of telecasting in the public interest. We will return to the air again tomorrow morning. KXLY-TV is owned by Spokane Television Incorporated and operates on Channel 4 as authorized by the Federal Communications Commission. The KXLY-TV studios are located at West 500 Boone Avenue in Spokane, Washington, with our transmitter located atop 6,000-foot Mount Spokane. And now, on behalf of the entire staff of KXLY-TV, we bid you a very pleasant good night and good morning.